Hello and welcome back to 5 and 5, where we take time to ask industry leaders questions pertaining to one of 5 topics selected completely at random. Today we have Chris J. Reed from Black Marketing, the world's #1 LinkedIn and personal branding firm. Thank you for joining us, Chris.
My pleasure, Natasha. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you. All right, let's see what questions we're going to delve into. Can you see my screen?
I can indeed. It's very exciting.
Okay, we're on memories.
Wow, okay.
We're going to delve into all those nasty memories of yours. First things first, I mean, you work with so many different companies and brands. What is the most memorable campaign you've worked on and why?
I mean, we only do LinkedIn. So, I mean, we work for founders and entrepreneurs across the world on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And the most memorable ones are obviously the ones that have the most impact, that have the best content, where you can see the most success. So interestingly, we work for an events company, for example, in the UK, who pivoted in April from offline to online. And because they used us to basically start targeting people who then suddenly needed virtual events, they started winning all their money back that they lost because everyone cancelled all the offline contracts for 2 years, because suddenly they were the only people on LinkedIn doing virtual events. And that's very rewarding for me, because that's really, I've helped my fellow entrepreneur pivot, save jobs, build a company, build a business, and now he's the #1 virtual events agency in the UK. And he's winning $1 million contracts from all the big brands, because suddenly the big brands are going, shit, we can't do anything else. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah.
So it's great that you're doing that as well. But that's exactly what we're doing for him and helping him do that, because he can't do it himself. But what he can do is he can talk about it.
Yeah.
And I can put him in front of people. My team can put him in front of people. So that's what I really love to do. So when you talk about a campaign, that's the kind of real, you see the results.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's not very nice having thought leadership and personal branding and content, but it's got to lead to something. You've got to lead to actually having clients come in and paying the bills and building a business and build a reputation. And that's really the most satisfaction I get, is helping fellow entrepreneurs around the world do that on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Chris, what is the best advice that you have ever been given?
So I was given the advice by my granddad when I was 9 years old, very close to my granddad. He mentored me effectively. I lived in London, lived in Newcastle, came down to London as much as I could to see him. And he told me when I was 9 years old, he said, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
And I said, well, what does that mean? I say, well, you'll find out in your career that actually it's more about connections, networking, getting to know people, keeping in contact with people. And of course, 9 years old, I'm going, what does this mean?
Yeah.
But as my career progressed, I could see he was right. I was basically, even the people I worked for example, in my 20s in London, became my clients.
Yeah.
When I launched my first business. And then obviously LinkedIn has taken that to a whole different level, where, I really work hard to get to know people, to keep in touch with people, to, if it's virtual or if it's offline, for example, get to know them. How can I help you? How can you help me? Who can you introduce me to? Who can I introduce you to?
Yeah.
And that's all about networking. I've won, all my investments, half my clients have come through who I know, not what I know. Of course, if I didn't know the things I knew about LinkedIn, I wouldn't get it. But the point is, I wouldn't even get in front of somebody to talk about LinkedIn if I wasn't actually using the network and people actually recommended me. So it is very powerful and it's a reminder for people to say, basically, human relationships and human contacts and friendships and business associations is much more important than having a vast amount of knowledge and being completely antisocial.
For sure. Well, it sounds like you were told that lesson very early on. Is there anything that you wish you knew then that you know now? What would you tell your 20-year-old
Oh, you got. Yes, the most major thing I really, really, really wish I knew, and is to outsource. So basically, we are now outsource all our work.
Okay.
We no longer employ anybody in Singapore. We no longer have an office in Singapore. And It was going that way even before COVID. I was basically, because we have global clients, we don't actually need to be in Singapore, but it was the traditional thing. You create a company, you have an office, you employ people in the region, and you're in the country you're in, and and that's where the problem starts. Because employees are completely, sometimes they're fantastic, sometimes they're terrible, but it's your reputation on the line. And no matter what happens, they'll blame you. If it's their fault or my fault, that's still my fault because I'm ultimately the CEO, the founder of the company.
Yeah.
So what we did is basically we've been moving for the last couple of years to basically outsource all our work. So now we have a massive team in South Africa, 25 people. And
Wow.
that's key because they're English speaking. And
Yeah.
a lot of Singaporeans, as much as they're fantastic and they're great writers, they don't speak and they don't write English in the way that my clients do. My clients are entrepreneurs in America, in UK, in Zurich, and even people in Zurich, they want English. They don't want Swiss, or they don't want German, or they don't want French. And even the expats, for example, in Singapore and Hong Kong, which make up the majority of our clients who are founders, they want blogs and content written in English.
Right.
Not in broken English or in Singlish or in Grammarly English, which bears no resemblance whatsoever. So by outsourcing this to my team in South Africa, I'm getting hungry people there because their economy's screwed. The rand against the dollar is absolutely terrible, but you have talented people there, very intelligent people, personable people there, and there's a lot of them. So I have a team of 25 people now in South Africa who deliver for our clients all around the world, but I no longer employ anybody in Singapore. And I wished I'd done that before because I'd be more profitable. Like this year is our most profitable year, even though with COVID.
Right.
And even without my masterclasses, because basically if they lose a client, which they haven't done so far, they basically lose the money. Whereas an employee loses the client, they don't care because they still get paid.
Yeah.
And the office still needs to be paid, the CPF still needs to be paid, and all the rest of it. So it basically outsourcing is very accountable, and that comes to us as well. People outsource their LinkedIn to us, and we're very accountable because we know if we don't do a good job, they'll go somewhere else or they'll stop using us.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way the world is going. But I wish I'd known that obviously 9 years ago when I created Black.
Yeah.
And not really go down the traditional route of basics. I wasted so much money on bloody offices and people that didn't work out and ideas that didn't work out. I should have outsourced it, but you don't know what you don't know.
For sure. Oh, amazing. Well, congrats on doing that and your South African team. Chris, last question for you. What is on your bucket list of memories? So is there a memory that you are wanting to create that you haven't yet?
A bucket list of memories. Oh, that's interesting. That's a very interesting question. I mean, actually, that's such an interesting question. I mean, being as an entrepreneur, you're always moving forwards. So it's interesting you say a bucket list of memories kind of thing, because the memories I create are basically, things like when I meet people, for example. Yeah. I learn things about them and I kind of want to build businesses, and I love building business. I'm on my 5th business now. I've exited 4 businesses, and the memories of creating something and then moving on, I'm kind of always a forward-looking person rather than a looking back person.
So the question's a bit sort of like double-edged, because is there a goal? Is there something that you want to achieve that you will one day look back on and be proud of? Or, is there something that... I
mean, the goal has always been for all the companies I've created is to kind of build them, sell them, and basically build the next one. I've always reinvested the money I basically made, for example, from building businesses and selling businesses into the next business. And that's always been a really passion of mine. I just read about Ridley Scott, for example, who's 85 years old and still directing TV and radio. And he's phenomenal, 85 years old. And he basically says, never stop, never stop, never stop, never stop. Even though he's basically a multi-millionaire, creates all this wonderful content, his passion for what he does leads him to the next one. That's how I feel. So there isn't one goal, because I love creating companies. I love building companies up. I love selling those companies, going to the next one, next one, next one. And I don't know what they're going to be. That's why I'm kind of struggling with an answer, because when I came to Singapore, I didn't know I was going to create Black marketing, because I didn't know about LinkedIn. It was only when I came here I thought, no one's using LinkedIn. I'll start using LinkedIn, and I'll see how that works, and I'll start selling that service to somebody else, because I'll see if it works. So I don't know what I don't know. So basically, and that's the exciting thing about being an entrepreneur.
So I guess a memory that hopefully I hope that you'll have one day is being 85 and starting a new company.
Yes.
All right.
And he's also from Newcastle. Ridley Scott's from Newcastle. The hardworking Geordies out there.
There you go. Awesome. Well, what a lovely place to end it. Thank you so much for your time, Chris. It's been a
pleasure, Natasha. Thank you.
This has been 5 and 5.